Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of my jump map tutorial, and where we left off was I'd finished this level pretty much and I want to make another level. So what I'm going to do is make a teleport door that will connect me to my level 2. Alright, so I'm just going to make a block, Shift D, and resize it so it's at the center and against the wall. And then I'm going to texture this with no draw, Shift A, there it is. And then I want to texture the visible sides with black, which is pretty much the standard for a teleport door. So I'm going to search for black, and there's black over there. It's a tools texture, and it's solid black. So now I need a trigger teleport in front of this door that will teleport me to the level 2 beginning. So I'm going to copy this out holding shift, and then I'm going to search for a trigger, and then I'm going to tie this to a trigger underscore teleport, and I'm going to set it to go to level 2 beginning, which I haven't made yet, but I will soon, and then clients, and there we go. Alright, so now I'm going to get started on level 2. I'm just going to copy this teleport destination and this platform out, rather than having to remake it, and then I'm going to rename this teleport destination to level 2 beginning, so this will be the start, and I'm going to resize this platform just because I think it's a little too big for what I'm trying to do. Okay, so basically now I'm going to teach you the steps of how I make a jump, pretty much, and what I like to do first is just set up all the essential blocks, basically all the blocks that you're going to need to complete the level, and then test it to make sure those blocks are correct. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a pillar here, the same red dev, and my second jump is just going to be 2 wall jumps into a double. So I'm going to copy out this platform as well and move it down a bit. So basically 2 wall jumps into a double on that platform, and then I'm going to copy another platform, which will be the landing platform. Now it's a bit sloppy, but all I'm doing is just trying to make sure these blocks are the right distance, and these 3 look a little too far, so I'm going to move them a bit closer. Okay, I'm going to move this second level out a bit. And now I'm going to test this using the cordon tool, which is this button up here. And basically the cordon tool draws this red box, and the map will only be compiled within this red box, so everything else becomes hidden. And in general, it's just a great tool to use for testing, since I only want to test my second level, so there's no need to compile my first level along with it. So I just want to draw this red box around my second level. You can edit the dimensions of the cordon box by hitting this button right here, and then it's just like a regular block. So I'm just going to make this bigger, and as you can see, everything inside it becomes rendered, and level 1 is now gone. And there we go. And then Shift S to get out of that, and actually I'm going to make this a little bit higher. So now it's ready to be tested, but first I'm just going to add a player spawn, Shift E, and then I'm going to raise these 2 pillars as well, just because I think they need to be raised, and then compile. Here it is in game, and as you can see, there's skybox all around, and actually the cordon tool, just think of the red box as being a hollow box, and the insides are textured with skybox. And now I'm testing this, and I noticed that it is really bad, so I need to go back and fix it up. So I've got to just rearrange this stuff, and I'm going to move everything a bit closer to the starting platform, and then move the last 3 blocks closer as well. So that looks good now, and I'm going to move the ending platforms farther away, just a little bit. Alright, so now I'm going to test this, and it's a lot better. The 2 pillars are spaced correctly. The double platform's kind of low, so I'll probably end up raising that, and yeah, it's pretty good. So now I'm going to make a few changes. I'm going to just move this level out farther away from the first so I have more space, and then resize the cordon box, just make it bigger, raise the 2 ending platforms a bit, and maybe move the ending platform farther away. Next I want to talk about the clipping tool, which is an extremely useful tool, and if you hit Shift X, that'll bring it up, and just drag out, and it'll draw 2 points and a line in between these 2 points, and you can move around the 2 points and the line will move with them. The clipping tool is used to make cuts in blocks So for instance, if I want to make a triangle, I can just move the two endpoints to the corners of the block, and then if I hit enter, it'll delete the red side, so that side right there. And now if I just go back and I hit Shift X again, I can cut off the other side. So basically it just cuts the red side. And then if I hit Shift X again, it'll make both sides white, and that will prevent both sides from being deleted, but I can still cut it. Now the clipping tool can be used for a lot of different things. For instance, I could make a hole in this block, so if I just hit Shift X, draw a line, and since both sides are white, both sides will be kept. And if I hit Shift X again, it'll bring the 2 points to the same location. A little shortcut I found is just hit Shift S immediately after the clip, and that will just allow you to quickly clip. So the distances are good on the platforms. So let's say I want to enclose off this level so as to seal it off from the void. I could just make a box and hollow it around the whole thing, but let's make something a bit more complicated. So I'm going to start by raising up the floor platform and then copying this out to make another box. And I'm going to enclose the 2 pillars with this. And now I'm just going to speed it up a bit just because I'm just resizing 3 blocks, so there's nothing new here. And now we have 3 boxes around my level. Okay, so now I'm going to hollow these boxes out. So tools, make hollow. Yes, and I'm going to choose -16. So the walls go outwards and they're 16 units thick. And then I'm just going to apply no draw. So now there are 3 boxes around my level, and now I can use the clipping tool to cut off portions of the blocks that will allow them to connect to each other. Before that though, I'm just going to texture all the boxes in the same scheme as level 1. Now all the insides of the boxes are textured, and I can go ahead and clip now. Clipping hollow blocks like this so they don't overlap can be a bit tricky at first, but with experience it becomes pretty easy. So I'm just going to get started by clipping off this side here that's connected to the wall. And now that I've done that, there's no wall here, and you'll see that what I now need to do is cut a hole into this this bigger box so that the smaller box can fit inside. So now if I delete this, you'll see that the 2 boxes are connected seamlessly, there's no overlapping parts, and overall I just think in general this is the fastest way to surround your levels. You could just make each wall separately, so that way you don't have to worry about clipping hollow boxes and having them line up properly, but overall I think this is the way you should learn it if you want to be an efficient mapper. So now I've got to do the same thing with these 2 boxes so that they're connected. So I'm going to start with this box right here, and I'm just going to make clips where they connect, and it's pretty intuitive, so you just basically clip where the boxes connect. And then solids, and I'm just going to delete all the parts that I just clipped. And then the same thing over here. I'm just going to make some clips where they connect, and then delete all the parts where they connect. And look at that, they're connected pretty seamlessly, relatively quickly and easy to do. I should note that it's pretty hard to get it perfectly seamless so that there's no overlapping blocks. Like for instance right here, the skybox blocks kind of overlap, but that's not really something I'm too worried about. And also there's like a ton of clips as a result of this method, which becomes a pain when you go to retexture because you gotta apply your texture to every single face of every single block. But I think this is the quickest way to seal off your levels from the void, and in general I guess it just reflects an attitude I have where I care more about speed than grid cleanliness. With the cordon tool you're only really working on one level at a time, so grid cleanliness is not something I place the highest priority on. In game, here it is, and once again I feel like this platform is too low. And another thing is the skybox is too low as well. You can see my rocket mark on the second pillar there is pretty high up there. So raising the skybox is actually really easy with the vertex tool. It's going to select everything, Shift V, select all the top corners, and then just raise them up. And this prevents you from stretching the bottom parts, and it stays on the grid as well. And then I'm just going to raise the two ending platforms up higher. So now I'm going to test this, and as you can see, the skybox is now higher, and in general the distance and spacing is just a lot better, I think. So now I've just got to add all the other stuff like the teleports, the funk no grenade, so you can't just cheat and use the blue walls, funk regen, all that stuff. So I'm just going to start fixing this up by adding a teleport above the white floors. Okay, so now there's a teleport going back to the start. Now I'm going to add funk no grenades along the floor, so I'm just going to copy the trigger teleport and change this to a funk no grenades, and then just drag it right back on top. And also on the walls I have to add funk no grenades. Alright, so now I've got trigger blocks covering all the walls, so I'm just going to select them all, Control T, and funk no grenades, and there we go. Alright, so I've purposely left this wall without a funk no grenades because I want to add basically like a fence that is flush against the two pillars. So I need to make funk illusionaries and player clips. So now I've got 3 fences that are in between the pillars, and I'm just going to make these a funk illusionary so rockets go through them. And then I'm going to put the player clip blocks right on top. So I did this just to make it a bit easier, that way you don't get stuck on the sides of the first and second pillars. Now I'm going to change up the ending platforms just because they're kind of, I don't know, unsymmetrical rectangles. So I'm going to raise the grid size. And if you change this option right here, you can choose between different types of shapes. So I'm going to choose cylinder and change the number of sides to 16. One thing to note is that the cylinder and arch will always be drawn from the top view. So when you're making these shapes, always draw them in the top view. And also just be a bit careful when using them, because oftentimes they can lead to errors in your maps if you don't use them correctly. And now I'm just going to add a smaller block that will connect this cylinder to the floor. So I'm going to go back to block and then just draw a square and then lower it so it now has like a support beam, I suppose. So using the alternate shapes like cylinders is just a great way to make your map seem less blocky, because really the standard is to use blocks, so inevitably your levels are going to seem a bit blocky, so you gotta mix it up a bit. So between the clipping tool, the vertex tool, and the possible shapes in the drop down, you now know all of the ways to manipulate blocks, and with this you can create some crazy brushwork if you want to. So for instance, I'm just gonna clip out this block in half, and then I'm gonna rotate it and clip it again, this time on a different angle. And this will create kind of I don't know, a triangle, I guess, a pyramid. I don't know what to call it. And then I'm just gonna put it in the corner, and now I have a pretty fancy and neat ending platform. That's it for this part of the tutorial. As always, leave questions in the comments. I know I did fast forward a bit of that, so if anything's confusing, please let me know. And I will see you guys later.